Welcome to In Depth. I'm Don Smith, and today we're talking with James McCormick, retired U.S. Army captain who now leads two veteran programs, West Virginia's Veterans and Warriors to Agriculture and the National Vets for Energy program. James, it's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
I looked over your military background and your service record getting ready, and to be honest, folks, we should be doing a show just on James. But today we need to talk about these two programs. First, James, let's talk about the Veteran and Warriors to Agricultural program. That program is a good thing for West Virginia, but it was also a good thing for you.
Absolutely. The Veterans and Warriors to Agriculture program came out of just watching how veterans, try to readapt to civilian life. And coming back myself, I utilized farming as a tool to kind of help me get back into the things. I dealt with PTSD and the different things that other people deal with, and then I had some pretty wicked gunshot wounds too that I was dealing with. And all of this stuff made transition very difficult. The Veterans and Warriors to Agriculture program, when we first started talking about that, actually it was a conversation with Kent Leonhardt when he was running for Agriculture Commissioner back in 2012. And then, of course, he didn't win that time, and Walt Helmick won. But we were still able to get Walt to, help us to stand up the program. And then in 2014, we finally got legislation that established the program under West Virginia Code 19-1-12.
Okay,
good
great.
program. Yeah.
Well, you served overseas in Desert Storm and in Iraqi Freedom, and like you say, with the wounds and the different things. So we've got a lot of veterans coming back now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know this, and you see this program as something that helps them deal with the PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
to get to maybe to readjust to civilian life,
Mm-hmm.
and gives them a calming, healthy approach back into life. So
Absolutely. I would tell you, a lot of folks have found a tremendous amount of therapy from this. As a matter of fact, the University of Utah is doing a study on this. And about 3 years ago, I was offered a fellowship with the University of Utah. So I am actually a fellow with Utah. We actually communicate information from some of these transitions that these soldiers are taking. So a lot of the things that are occurring in West Virginia, especially recently in the last 2 years that we've managed to document, is now becoming, being written into possibly future programs to help other veterans across the country. So we like to share that information as well. The big thing that I have seen is I've seen veterans that were separated from their families.
Okay.
You can't have the family farm unless you have the family. So when we have our classes, we invite the family members to come to these classes. So and it's been a pretty amazing thing to watch, classes go from what would be maybe 8 or 10 veterans that would show up to one class. We had 150 veterans show up.
Wow.
With their family members. So it's pretty amazing to see.
Wow. Well, and again, you'll see the website, folks, but it's agriculture.wv.gov, and then look for Veterans and Warriors to Agriculture. And there's information there, right, James, for them to look at, get the application,
Mm-hmm.
to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some great videos on there too of testimonies of veterans that went through some.
Well, great. Yeah, I saw the one on the beekeeping is a big thing. So I've read some of the stuff and saw the things there, so that's incredible. I also want to move on, though, because they're related and just as important. I want to move to the Vets for Energy program that we're talking about. I want to back up 1 second, though. Before we leave the Veterans and Warriors to Agriculture, how's the funding situation?
The funding situation is very tough. We've been 5 years into this program without a budget from the state. I know that Kent Leonhardt has asked, since he's been elected, for a budget, and we would like to see our legislators support these veterans by applying a $250,000 budget to that program. $250,000 honestly is a drop in the bucket compared to what we've done. We've got 364 veterans that are in the program, and we've started 156 new small businesses in West Virginia. So the payback on that investment is absolutely huge. Not to mention having 8 veterans that give this program credit with preventing them from committing suicide if we save one life, that's a heck of it's worth every penny.
Well, absolutely, the investment there to keep this going and to help them transition, to keep them safe, their family safe, to make that transition, and to turn them into productive business people.
Absolutely.
It seems like a program that deserves the funding, especially the amounts we're talking about. Now I want to go to Vets for Energy, which is a national program, and you are the director of the national program, correct?
That is correct.
Great. Now, I worked on this as I tried to prepare for this, and I saw one of the things I was interested in was the American Petroleum Institute's Veteran to Energy Pipeline, which is helping get veterans jobs in these fields. And as I read that, it's, you know, these vets coming back have a lot of experience in some of these areas that are needed. It's a natural fit. It gives them an employment opportunity, and it's a great thing for the employers. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me how this works.
The Vets for Energy program is a group of volunteer veterans, and what we've done is we've sat down and we've helped to discuss policy and things that are important to not only, you know, veterans getting jobs, but also the whole national security impact that this has. You know, there's two things you should never get from your enemy, and that's your food and your fuel. And ironically, I'm involved in both of those. And you'll find that veterans have a big play in both of those areas because we take national security very serious. When you start looking at jobs, putting veterans in these jobs, you're not just putting a veteran to work, but you're putting someone that's trained, that understands, that can maybe see things that, you know, that normal people, other people, maybe they couldn't see, or maybe they wouldn't notice some of those things. So when we put veterans in these jobs and we apply the skills they learned in the military, it's a great fit, and you get a great employee that knows how to show up to work on time, that knows how to dress, that is drug-free, and is there to get the job done. So we're very proud of that. And what that does is that helps them to build their resume. So a lot of the skills that the veterans have, they all the time don't capitalize on that. And then we work with HR departments as well to get them to understand that this is what this job means in the military. So this is why this person's a good fit for your company.
Oh, great. And James, getting those veterans jobs and getting them back into society is important. But we talked a little earlier, and I've heard talk on this before. There's a national security aspect of this that's greater than just giving our veterans jobs. And you mentioned in our intro that you don't want to get your fuel from your enemies, but you also don't want to fund your enemies in any fashion. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, and the irony of all of that is that, you know, I was telling someone the other day, you know, when I was running around back in the 80s, you know, chasing women, you know, and trying to make a name for myself, I wonder how much of that money that I put in my gas tank, you know, got shipped back overseas. Maybe I bought the bullets that shot me. I don't know. But I can tell you this, it is an absolute fact that foreign oil sales has funded and been partially responsible for funding terrorism. The things we do in West Virginia or any place in America is critical. So when we talk about pipelines, we talk about some of these other environmental impact studies that are done. You know, when we delay these programs so that we delay us from becoming an energy efficient and energy independent America, then we're essentially still sending our money overseas. We're essentially still helping to fund the very people that hate us, you know, and hate what we're doing. I mean, look at the movement in Iran right now. Look at how they treat the women in Iran. That's horrible. If someone's really about human interest, then they should look at, you know, why are we sending money to countries that treat women like animals? We shouldn't do that. I really believe that.
Well, one of the other things I thought that you brought up that I hadn't thought about was the aspect that our energy supply is for us to use here, and it's a secure energy supply for this country. But it also, if there's an excess, as there seems to be now, we can sell that excess to our allies and to keep their dollars from going to foreign hands and causing trouble. So that it's even a greater impact on funding for terrorism.
Absolutely. When we can help our allies, and in particular, I was telling you about the meeting that I had with the Polish Armed Forces Commander, General Micah. And the irony of that is that you know, him and I had served in Iraq at the same time. So when you start talking about, you know, how he can utilize, you know, energy to help his armed forces, but to also not be buying energy from either the Russians or the Iranians or some other country, then, it becomes not only a national security for us, it becomes a world security issue. And I'm telling you, the veterans and Vets for Energy, we're interested in securing America through an energy policy that is an all-the-above energy policy that includes oil and natural gas, and that includes offshore, that includes hydraulic fracturing, that includes pipelines. Those things are all necessary for us to be able to be competitive and to also be secure in all of our own resources and the resources that we can help to sell to our allies.
James, good point. All good points. And I think that one thing we want our viewers to know is that we're going to have more veterans coming back. Mm-hmm. They're going to need the therapy that comes from the agriculture. Mm-hmm. They're going to need the jobs that come from Vets to Energy. It looks like the West Virginia Department of Agriculture, if we can get the funding, it's doing a good project regardless, and the funding will make it better. Mm-hmm. But the Vets to Energy program, with those volunteers and with the American Petroleum Institute supporting it and finding jobs and getting these veterans into jobs, we are taking some steps in the right direction.
Well, and you got to understand, energy and agriculture are a tight fit. And we talked about natural gas, for instance. There's a lot of money to be made in indoor growing right now. And everybody doesn't really think about you just plug into a light socket. But when you're starting to heat massive numbers of greenhouses, then that natural gas, affordable, clean natural gas, is great to have. And that's going to be able to help us to be not only energy independent, but agriculture independent, food independent. And when we do that, my friend, then we're looking at an America that's strong inside and out, and then we have the ability to help our allies with things, everything from food to fuel.
Great. James, thank you for your time. We appreciate having you today.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.